Good day, everybody. My name's Todd. I'm the man who takes people out into the field and has them either live interact with or eyewitness a Sasquatch. Very excited about today's video because just preemptively, I'm looking at this Sasquatch video. It's from Florida. They call them the skunk ape, which I don't know what the indigenous people, the original indigenous people call them, but the indigenous people that live there now, the Americans, call them the skunk ape. I don't like that terminology whatsoever. However, it seems very fitting, and I'm looking at this piece of footage. I gotta tell you, I'm very impressed. I'm gonna take a look at this from a boots on the ground tracker that's seen Sasquatch. I'm gonna give you my perspectives on it. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you, I'm pretty impressed right off the start. So let's not waste any time, let's get right into it. This is gonna be a really, really cool video today. I'm really excited about doing a review for this, so stay tuned. The masters of civilization, my people, sure could learn a lot from the masters of the wilderness, which is who they are.
There's no way that you got sight of a Sasquatch in those areas with those tree breaks, with those tracks, getting those apples taken, with those sounds, all these things.
So, first impressions of this video is what I'm hearing is immense power. Obviously, there's two things that are going on here. Either this is a hoax, and what Survivor Man taught me, in case you don't know, in an episode of Survivor Man spent over nearly $30,000 to create a footprint hoax, a track hoax, where he put tracks on his feet with stilts, and the tracks were of an actual Sasquatch impression, an actual Sasquatch track that Dr. Jeff Meldrum has, one of his famous ones. He took it to Jeff Meldrum and John Bitternagel and tried to convince them that it was authentic. What that taught me was the amount of money that it would take to do something like this. And I know Sasquatch are real, and I know my footage is real, but I had no idea until Survivor Man taught me how expensive it would be just to fake the tracks. And what I'm seeing here is serious power. So what's going on here for certain is there's a lone Sasquatch, and this is going to happen because the Sasquatch are male-dominated societies. So you're going to get rogue males that are running around looking to start new troops or take over new troops as they grow and get bigger, just like with gorillas. So I call that looking for a needle in 10 haystacks. Of course, it's going to happen. Someone like myself who does repeatable work, it's completely worthless for me. I'd spend my whole life like Grover Krantz or Renata Hinden or John Green looking for that rogue individual, and it's just never going to happen. But when you have literally hundreds of millions of people across North America that go out and are capable of eyewitnessing this, and in this case, this gentleman actually got footage, it's going to happen. So what has to be happening here, what is extremely likely happening, if it is indeed authentic, is you're seeing a Sasquatch, a lone male, and power. So what makes me think that this is potentially authentic is the sounds of breaking, snap, crack, bang. That is Sasquatch sound to me. And if it is not real, there's a guy in a suit that's a very convincing, impressive suit. And noticing the movements are a little odd, but I have a tendency to recognize that when I see Sasquatch, their movements are they're just different than human beings. And we have that thing in our mindset where we think about what humans look like and we kind of compare it. And the first thing I usually notice in a Sasquatch is their movements are generally just different than people. Obviously bipedal, obviously upright, but heavier, bigger, quick to slow, I'm seeing. But the sounds and the power, again, if it's not real, it's a guy in a suit with another guy right out there, right in the same area, cracking and snap with a sledgehammer or something. And then some people have said in another analysis where there was potentially a baby, I don't see that at all. I see a long arm. I see this huge, enormous, long arm. And if that hand is indeed grabbing and making that sound, this is authentic, ladies and gentlemen. Like, how the heck, human beings can't make these sounds and crack and make that kind of power. It's too much, it's too powerful, it's too I mean, obviously, if that's a real being, if that's a real Sasquatch, this is tremendously significant. And then the other thing that I'm clearly seeing here is just you know, the color looks authentic to me, the shape looks authentic to me. Obviously, if my videos and the Patterson footage are not going to prove Sasquatch are real and not going to convince people, neither is this. But how mind-blowing is it? How many videos are out there? I reviewed quite a few now, and I find a great deal of them to be tremendously authentic. So, and this one is really up there. So I'm going to get back in my studio right now, and we'll do a more detailed analysis coming up right next. But why don't we, enough talking, watch the darn video. So here's the video raw in its entirety, and then I'll go into studio and see what else I can deduce based on the knowledge that I have. Very specifically, again, boots on the ground. Not some computer geek looking at it and analyzing it and giving my opinion based on pixels. No, this is a real legit tracker that's really seen Sasquatch. It's had tons of interactions with them, giving you my boots on the ground, my field experience and field knowledge applied to this. So stay tuned for that. Now I'm here in studio, and I'll give you some of my thoughts based on having watched the video a few times. First thing I can see is, what I would say is, this is not strange behavior. Animals do this. Bears tear apart logs. Deer, elk, moose like to rub their antlers. Animals make sounds like this. So wild creatures do this. I know people don't like calling the Sasquatch that. But it's also very clear to me that this individual is being large and doesn't really care. And maybe he knows the person is there. That's not something we can really deduce, but based on a lot of sightings and even things I've seen about Sasquatch, there are days where they just don't seem to care. They'll just smash and crash, and they'll just be big and full of testosterone and not really give a crap. And if he is foraging, if he is looking for food, he knows he's a big dominant monster, and he's just being a big dominant jerk, and he just doesn't really care. There is a lot of ambient sounds and a lot of ambient noise around, so there is a lot of cover. And if you notice in the video as well, the man who's coming in, at the end of it, you can see he's wearing camouflage pants, and you can see on the trail that he's coming in, he would have potential to have his sound potentially covered by the ambient noise because of the crickets and whatnot. So he could move in quietly if he's wearing camo pants. Pants are pretty important. I don't know what he's wearing for a shirt. He's also wearing camo. You know, I know he's shocked by this incident, but another thing I'd like to point out too is if this is not real, I don't like using that word hoax, but if it is, obviously if it's not real, it's a hoax. But it looks like it's an aquatic area, if I'm not mistaken. So it looks like there's water around. So it would have been a lot more work than... It's not just something that would have been quick and easy to do. But my favorite point is, after really looking closely, the movements match the sounds. Remember I talked about earlier about how the sounds are really good evidence to me in this. There's big, powerful movements going on. I'm seeing a big hand reach across. I'll zoom in and play this back for you one more time. But I'm seeing a big hand, and I'm seeing movements that are matching the sounds, which is very important because now, remember I said earlier, I thought there could have possibly be, if to hoax this, it would have been a lot easier to have two people to make those big, loud, crashing sounds. The sounds match what I'm hearing. Remember too, there's sounds that he's making, that the man's making with the microphone. Whoever's doing this, a man or woman, it sounds like a guy. So, yeah, at the end when the being stands up, how does that movement feel to you? I know chimpanzees and gorillas have the ability to squat and stay down in weird positions for lengths of time because they'll forage and eat like that. And there could be, if that's a dead old tree, there could be sustenance and something to derive food from. It's not my territory. It's not my home ground. An expert would have better things to say about that, or would he? Do they have bears? Do they have beings in? I must have woodpeckers and whatnot that peck out the insects and stuff. So, but the point I'd like to make here though is Sasquatch in Florida are going to be immensely different behaviors. Well, I wouldn't say behaviors so much as the what they're going to do to survive is going to be significantly different from what they do to survive where I am. My Sasquatch fall around elk herds. The Sasquatch out here will have salmon runs to go off of. They're not going to have that stuff in Florida. The food sources are going to be completely different, which creates different behaviors, and you'll follow the food sources. What's going on with the food sources? This is not some quick, easy answer. Bottom line is, I know Sasquatch are real, and this video is just decent and quite impressive. And if the guy faked it, he faked it. In my heart a little bit, if people are faking it but Sasquatch really exists, it's kind of a conundrum, right? It's like you're faking wild horses are in a place because you want to prove that there are wild horses there because nobody believes you that there's wild Mustangs out there. So you go get a Mustang and pretend like I don't know. The mentality behind it, it's very odd for me. But what I'll do for you is I'll zoom in on this dramatically and I'll smooth it out. I'm not going to play it in slow motion. I'll just play it in full speed, zoom it in significantly more. Let's have a watch one more time, and then I'll close up on this video. So let's have one more closer look where I'll zoom in very, very tight for you guys. It'll be pixelated, but you can have another look, and we'll see what else we can figure out based on that. So my last little thing I want to note about this is I think the most significant piece of evidence in this footage for me is this sound. Listen to this. Now, you have to understand, after watching this, I'm seeing movement. Boom! A short little burst of power that seems to generate that sound. If that matches, and it looks like it does, wow, that looks quite authentic. I'd hate to have egg on my face and find out this is a hoax at the end of the day, but if I've watched it quite a few times, I'm seeing a little jab of movement, and I'm hearing boom! To have the power to generate that kind of a boom off a tree with a little budge of movement, it's primate power. So I don't know how they would have pulled that off. I mean, the sounds are authentic. You can see the log drop in the water. You can see picking at things and grab a hand moving and then crackling sounds. So the sounds are clearly from that being, whatever it is, but that boom, crack, that to me is the most significant piece of evidence. What do you think? Comments below. Thank you very much for tuning in. Wednesdays live, Throwback Thursdays. This was Sasquatch Sunday. My name's Todd Stanley. There's lots more coming. Stay tuned. New footage will be coming soon, so stay tuned. Thank you very much for tuning in. Take care.